Hey Travis, it is time for Unapologetic Geek Out. Are you excited?
What are we talking about?
We actually had no subject for this week. I was actually looking around. I was like, man, I don't know what to do. We were supposed to have like Sense8. It was supposed to be, but we might do that for Netflix and Kill. Actually, I'm like, man, I just don't know what to do. But luckily enough, podcasting finds a way. Because we are talking about Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom today. We saw the film and we have a review today. It's a giant review, non-spoiler and spoiler section included. We had a lot to say about it, that's for sure.
That's one thing you can say.
One say is that there is so much to be said about this film. There's just so much to say. So that's going to be later in the show. And of course, we have, just the regular news, for this week. No trailers, but we, wanted to go through some news as well as a saga of my own that I would like to continue. But who's talking with me? Why, it's me, Nick, the Merc with a mic, and my fellow Unapologist,
Travis.
Oh, so good to see you, Travis. And of course, if you'd like to see more of Travis and myself, you could come to Convergence this first weekend of July in Minneapolis. We're going to be there. We're going to have a fan table on Saturday, but we'll be hanging out the rest of the convention the Friday and Sunday as well. I'll be on a Gotham and Steven Universe panel that has been confirmed.
Okay.
So that's really fun. And we will be in Austin at the end of July, right after KatsunaCon. Mm-hmm. So we're going to have a busy July, but it's going to be really fun. We're going to have panels and recordings with some of our friends down in Austin. And, we always have fun at KatsunaCon because it's right in our backyard. It's a real relaxing con for us. It's just a lot less, stress on us too. So we usually have a little bit more fun there, or at least I do.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
And, so that's where we're going to be in this, like, the next upcoming month. So, be excited for it. Also, I'm going to be in, Chicago for the DT party, Double Toasted's, and I'm not sure if it's an anniversary party or if it's just a get together in Chicago, but I'm going to be at that. So that's going to be fun. If you guys are there, maybe hit me up and we'll hang out. If you want to just hang out with us virtually, you can do so at any of our social media pages, like our Twitter at UGO Podcast. Our Instagram's the same thing. Check out our, con pics there. It's a real fun time. You can also, like us on Facebook. You can, check us out on iTunes, subscribe to us on iTunes, maybe give us a 5-star review. Those are very, very helpful, for us and our, everyone is seeing us. You can write in the description there. I'll read it on the air word for word if you have something you want to promote or something that you would like to, silly you'd like me to say. I'll say it. I have no shame. That's for sure. I really am just excited for you guys, to be listening, really. Any kind of help you could give us, even if it's not money. But if you do want to give us money, we do have a Patreon page. Like, just in case. I mean, and there's cool stuff on the Patreon page, too, that's only available for subscribers. Like, our Movie Pass or Fails, shows, in which, our latest one, we just did, Ocean's 8. So that's, you want to hear, some, theft talk on there. We've done some past ones, too. We have movie commentaries, that we've done. Our latest one on that one was, I think, Piranha 3D. Mm-hmm. That was real fun.
That was the thing.
Man, you should really definitely check that one out. If I were to suggest one of them, I would go with that one, for me. But yeah, it's a real fun time. With that out of the way, should we just get to the show? Let's get to the How We Doing segment. Travis, how are we doing?
I'm still beating my head in place with hard video games.
Sure, because you were so on the Bloodborne track. You're playing them. I can hear it. I've been playing Dying Light recently.
Yeah, how is that?
It's like a Mirror's Edge mixed with a little bit of Dead Island with the zombie thing. It's interesting. I feel like some of the crafting mechanic, like there's some weapons like, well, as soon as I craft a certain type of weapon, I'm like, oh, this is the thing I'm going to use for like the rest of the game.
Rest of it.
Yeah, like, well, this is like a baseball bat that I can also light on fire.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to use this.
Yeah, that's a pretty awesome
I'm
thing.
like, hey, there's like throwing stars too. Like, yeah, but I have a baseball bat.
That's on fire.
And I have to like go around and collect throwing stars. I could just, have a baseball bat. It's great. So that's fun. We have been up on, we still have like one episode behind on Westworld, actually.
Are we?
Yeah, I mean, has Westworld seemed a little bit lackluster to you in this season? I mean,
don't know.
I don't think there's anything too wrong with it, except for the fact that I noticed that we're not like rabidly trying to watch it like the day after it comes out.
Yeah.
Like we keep leaving it off, and I'm like, oh, that's right, we have a Westworld episode to watch.
It's not that it's bad. I don't know where it's going.
Sure, and I'm like, well, we don't do that for Game of Thrones.
No.
Like, we don't do that for Game of
Well,
Thrones.
Game of Thrones is so far into it by now, we know exactly where it's going. We just have to get there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, every time we watch My Hero Academia, it's always like, oh man, yeah, we gotta crack that shit. Also, My Hero Academia had a great episode.
It did.
Woo! Like, if you ever wanted to see anime's version of Captain America mixed with Superman, like that's where this episode went. So I would definitely check out that anime for sure. On a more personal note, we are here's the continuing saga of, like, I mentioned the Steven Universe comment we had on our video the other day. Well, it didn't stop there, Travis.
Oh no. What did they spoil to us now?
Well, I mean, it wasn't really much a spoiler. It was the person that was talking with put a slightly disparaging comment on one of our reaction videos. We do Steven Universe reactions on YouTube. They're a fun time. You should definitely check them out. We got really positive responses on our last one, which was a single pale rose, which is like, yeah, I imagine people wanted to see how we reacted to that one. 'Cause that's an episode. That's a game changer. But this one actually came from one of our episode 17 episode of season 5. I talked a little bit about this before, but I wanted to bring up the actual conversation.
Okay.
And I wanted to see, like, if I'm the asshole in this conversation.
So you're trying to call someone else, what you're trying to do right now.
Yeah, I'm basically it. So let's read that here for word.
Got it.
I don't want to leave any context out. So here's the actual thing. Here's what they start off with. In all caps, why the fuck did you cut all the song and the diamond talk? And of course, the grammar leaves much to be desired. But also, the caps are all like, so this person is yelling at me.
Yeah, that's typically.
They want me to know that they're upset. But even then, I'm like, well, I mean, I guess they could just be frustrated with the fact that they wanted to watch that part of the episode, even though I've already stated why that doesn't really make any sense. But what really gets me is that they put an emoji here. They put the woman with her hand over her face emoji. And I'm like, oh, so there's only one way to read this, in the fact that you are so embarrassed for me you can't even look at me. This comment is really, I mean, what would you call it?
Baffling.
Like it's, this person is angry, right?
I guess.
Like they don't like, what the content, they are very disappointed in not only that, but in me. Correct? Am I reading it differently than, so my
internet comment, like, I don't think that much about it.
My response is, because it is a reaction, I wrote, because it's a reaction video. We didn't react to those scenes very much. If you want to watch the whole episode, why don't you just go do that? And I didn't use caps locks because I'm an adult. An adult responding on a comment section on YouTube.
There you go.
So,
wasn't going to point that out, but there you go.
So here's their response. Unapologetic Geek Out. By the way, I'm looking for Reactor. One of my favorite reaction channels got taken down, and I'm looking for a new one that cuts a lot of the actual video because I've already watched it. So first of all, I thought it turned out it was a pretty good episode, but now that you have to get this salty with me in the shade, I'm going to go and goodbye. So, what I love about this is that when you call someone out for being a dick online, I love the attempt at the judo flip of like,
this is like your fault.
Oh, wow, whatever. I actually liked the episode, but now that you're like this with me, and I'm like, oh, so you were actually, and then I love that they were actually looking for the thing that they were bitching about. Why did you cut this part? I've been looking for someone that cuts part that I've already seen of the episode, and I'm like, dude, no, you don't flip it around like, oh, I can't believe you got this salty with me. I'm just gonna go, bye. So,
bye.
My role here as a content provider on YouTube is to the one that receives the ridicule. I don't get to dish it out at all. Bullshit. Bullshit. I get to dish out ridicule as much as I fucking want.
Nope, sorry, Nate. That's not how comment sections work on YouTube. YouTube is only for the lowest people who have nothing better to do with their lives.
And honestly, my response was passive aggressive at best. Like, it was a little salty. I won't lie about that. Nope. But it was a legitimate question that I had at the end of that. My next response was a little less ambiguous. I went, oh no, what will I do without a viewer that only comments in the negative about cuts they then tell me is exactly what they are looking for while trying to convince me that they liked the episode retroactively. See ya. They go on another 3-comment rant here. I'll leave just the morsels here. Wow, you don't even appreciate the little followers you even have. And one more question: why do you not show your subscriber count when you know that when you reach 5K or 10K or even 1K? Because we all know what happens when you reach 10K. We're going to see some ads. And I don't know what this insult is. I am very confused. So I guess.
So he's basically insulting us for wanting to get revenue for something we do for free.
Yeah. So I wrote back like, no, it's not that I don't appreciate the all the followers I have. I just don't appreciate you. My hate is very focused. Like,
very specialized.
Like, my disdain is laser pointed. And I wrote, oh, God forbid if we start to show ads, I would have to turn in my hipster geek card and forever give up on the being one of the cool kids. And I think they wrote back, they finally accepted defeat, I guess.
Okay.
Which was, okay, respect. Laughed my ass off, peace. So, I guess I amused them. So, that's how that ended.
You probably just shouldn't bait the trolls.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't have gotten this fun story, too. Because this was... I do love, like, I don't react to all the comments that we get. We've been getting more of them on the Steven Universe comments, but this one caught me wrong. And it could have easily just been really a self-destructive fucking, like, exercise. But I kind of got a little bit out of it, so I'm kind of... I don't know. I just really do appreciate that they, no matter what... like how big of an asshole the person is online, they're always the fucking victim. Like, you're such a little bitch. Like you're always coming at it from somehow you're mad, but you're always coming from some form of weakness, which is your greatest demise, I believe. But yeah, that was a fun time. Hey, check us out on YouTube, but definitely don't leave a comment
because otherwise Nick will come after you.
Definitely don't do that
because he doesn't have anything better to do.
You know what? Fucking leave a comment. Go for it. I fucking dare you. Like, I double dog dare you, motherfucker. Like,
you're sick the whole time.
It was me. Yeah. Travis, you're Steven Universe with a Z?
I was.
Damn it. Walked right into that one. Well, Travis, we have a little bit of news today as well that I wanted to get to. One being that they're looking to reboot TMNT again.
Why?
Well, Paramount decided that, like, well, TMNT Out of the Shadows underperformed, but we don't want to give up on the TMNT brand. So we're going to go with a complete different direction and kind of bring it back. And for me, I'm like, as a Ninja Turtles fan, I realized, like, well, I feel like we should let it sit for a little while. But then again, there's always a cartoon out, so it's not like it ever leaves the cultural mindset anyway. So it doesn't really matter, I guess. But the one I was excited about was that there is talks about a Gargoyles reboot.
Really?
Well, apparently, someone is a certain fan of the Gargoyles.
And who would that be, besides you?
Jordan Peele.
Really?
Oh, yes. He says there is rumors that Jordan Peele is pursuing a considerably a different sort of project than he normally goes with. He's trying to get a live action reboot of Gargoyles made by Disney. So at least that's what the rumors are right now, it seems like.
Would Disney go for that?
I don't know. Like, on one level, it's a property that they own that they're not really doing much with. It's got its cult following. I mean, it'd have to be a low-budget movie, but that's kind of up Jordan's alley anyway.
He got that.
I mean, it would kind of be a horror movie. Like, it would kind of be like, it would have to be a little bit lesser, like, still for kids, because that's what it was.
Gothic horror.
Yeah, so, I don't know. Like, that makes a little amount of sense to me. Plus, it's a very diverse cast, even with Gargoyles. Like Keith David being Goliath, and then Elisa Maza being a half black, half Native American woman was like, oh yeah, so it's kind of up his alley with his diverse cast.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone else would be like, oh, well, she should be played by a white woman, but Jordan Peele probably actually get somebody for that.
So man, there's a lot I like about that concept, and I know it's early stages and that it's like, it's one of those things like it's a rumor and it could so easily not happen, especially since Disney might not be, you're right, Disney might not be interested in making it at all.
Yeah.
But considering that, like, I could see that if there was a pitch good enough, that I think Disney might kick $30 million somewhere into Gargoyles live action movie. Like, nothing high end, but like, like something low level.
30 million's a low budget movie. That always gets 30
million is a low budget movie nowadays.
But just like nowadays, that's just fascinating.
30 million is chump change for fucking Disney. And so yeah, that was exciting. I also have a fun little article got written the other day.
All right.
About there was an article written here. I'll see if I can't bring it up, but it says that it ranked the Marvel movies from least gay to most gay.
Okay.
It was really funny. I'm going to try and bring it up here, but would you like to hazard a guess at what was the most gay Marvel film?
Thor Ragnarok?
Hey, you nailed it in one. I wonder why.
Because that movie practically shits rainbows?
It's really some great stuff over there.
What's the least gay one?
Let's see. I can read them right here. They have them ranked here. Which one comes in dead last here? 19, Thor: The Dark World. A gay movie would never kill off Rene Russo. Like, it even gives them arbitrary minus and plus numbers. Like,
That's
this one's
awesome.
minus 400. This is great. I'm going to find, before I even go any further, I'm going to find the writer. By Kyle, Buchanan. And he goes by at Kyle Buchanan on Twitter, and he writes for Vulture. That's where you can find the article. It's really, really funny. And there's it's really funny and kind of just like some of the stuff it says here, like Avengers Infinity War. One of the minus points is they never tell us who the president is in Infinity War, but when Cap greets Bucky with 2 back pats, I find myself screaming, Trump's America! There's tons of these fucking things in here. It's really fun. Evangeline Lilly's Ant-Man. Evangeline Lilly's hair is styled like Edna Mode for some reason. Plus 50 because it's Edna Mode, but also minus 100 because why would you do that to poor trusting Evangeline? It's so like sassy. I love this fucking article. It's really, really good. I wanted to find a couple more of my favorite ones here. Let's see. Like there's even a twink reference between Tony and Peter and Spider-Man Homecoming. Like there's that whole thing. I think, let's see here, Iron Man 3, literally the last movie Joan Rivers appeared in before her death, plus 50. Guy Pearce consistently wears no-show socks, plus 70. And in the third act, Gwyneth Paltrow transforms into a sort of powerful superhero I would pick in a Super Nintendo fighting game, plus 175.
That's about right, yeah.
And yeah, like I love it. Like Captain America: The First Avenger, the first MCU film to feature a cast member that's from The Devils Wear Prada, plus 100 for Stanley Tucci. And it co-stars Haley Atwell, plus 200 because the letters in LGBTQIA all stand for Haley Atwell. Like, so there, oh man, Thor, this one's funny too. Like, the first Marvel film to codify the gratuitous shirtless scene, plus 300. Dutch angles are inherently gay, plus 75. I love that one because it's so random of like, Dutch angles are now gay, and I'm like, I guess they are now. He said it. Yep. And now I can't think of him in any other context. Oh, this one is the piece de resistance here. Not only is there a rainbow bridge, but it's called the Bifrost. Representation matters.
I mean, fair. It's just fair right there.
Avengers Age of Ultron stars a bitchy gay robot, plus 200. There's also a second gay robot, plus 100 for Vision. Are all robots gay? 0 points. Just wondering out loud. Like, this article is really great, guys. You got to give the whole thing a read. I'm just reading just some small samples here, and it's really, really great. I love, like, there's one in the Black Panther here that was pretty good. I believe that people are this one's great. I believe that people are born gay, but I also believe that homosexuality can be traced back to Angela Bassett wearing that one hat in Black Panther.
The Chef Boyardee hat?
Yeah, I do. And it makes me think, oh, God, I do love that hat. That hat is great. But yeah, I love, let's see here, let's see, Captain America Civil War, at one point, or no, wait, like, later the film cuts from a different action sequence to Vision standing in his kitchen queening about paprika, plus 400. Apparently Vision is really gay.
I guess.
Like, didn't pick up on that, but I guess that's how it is. I'm not saying Vision reminds me a lot of gay men I know, but he does love cashmere sweaters and Elizabeth Olsen. Like, I don't know. He's bringing up, like, the pieces are coming together, Travis. Like, there's a lot here. What is the number one movie? Why, it is Thor Ragnarok. I say, they do minus points for not letting Valkyrie be bi like Tessa wanted, but also confirms that Cate Blanchett is using her late 40s the same way Kristen Stewart is using her late 20s to turn everybody lesbian, plus 300.
Fair. I actually 100% believe that.
Thor's haircut, plus 100. Jeff Goldblum with that blue pop of color on his lips, plus 50. Taika Waititi is married to a woman, but I fully believe he would at least make out with himself, plus 100.
I think he'd also make out with Chris Hemsworth, actually.
I do feel like the way he shoots them, there is a little bit more going on there. Like, oh yeah, just take off your shirt a little slower this time, Chris. But yeah, it's a really fun article, guys. You got to give the whole thing a read. They break down every film, and there's a ton of these gems in here. They're really, really funny. But yeah, with that, do you have any news you wanted to bring up?
Nothing really exciting today.
No, I'll tell you what, guys. We're gonna go right into our movie review. Then we're not even gonna, we're not even gonna bullshit around about it. It's time to talk about some dinosaurs. We're gonna take a small musical break, and we'll be back right after this.
You'll have to get used to Dr. Malcolm.
So you two dig up dinosaurs?
All right, Travis, it is dino time today. Oh my goodness. So we have just recently just gotten back from seeing Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World 2. And boy, so this is the fifth Jurassic Park movie. This is the fifth one?
I think so, yeah.
It's the fifth one. So this time around, it turns out that the park has been left behind.
Just kind of abandoned.
It has been abandoned, and the dinosaurs along with it. Turns out they built that shit on an active volcano.
Because of course, well, it wasn't active at the time, but they still built it on a dormant volcano.
I mean, we have Jeff Goldblum to explain it to us. It's like, oh, do you think God made the volcano in order to sort some shit out? And he's like, no, that would be ridiculous. And I'm like, are you sure? I mean, maybe it's a message. I'm not a religious person, but maybe God's trying to fix your own fuck up. Yeah. Like, maybe,
God's like, no, I made this mistake once. Let's fix this.
It's like, guys, I try to get rid of these guys. I knew dinosaurs were assholes. Why do you think I switched over to mammals? Right? Like, lizards are just fucked. So we have our friend, Bryce Dallas Howard, who also has a name in the film.
Claire.
Chris Pratt, who also has a name in the film.
Owen.
Okay, I'm not going to remember their names, guys. They are Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard to me. And they go back in order to save as many dinosaurs as they can. Well, Chris Pratt's a little more interested in blue. They do so with the help of the financial, the finances of a rich philanthropist who turns out to have a connection to Hammett. And it turns out once they get there and shit really starts to go wrong, the volcano starts to erupt. It turns out things aren't as simple as they might be with our beneficial financier.
Who saw that coming?
And well, I mean, in the trailer they basically spoil the whole movie in the second trailer. But then again, it is the one that sold the movie a little bit more. And yeah, basically that's the plot of this movie, is the idea of trying to save the dinosaurs we've created. So this movie is interesting to me in a lot of ways. And what I mean by that is that this movie has to be, it's a fascinating, hot mess of a movie.
That's a polite way of putting it, actually.
A hot mess is a polite way.
It really is.
I mean, Travis, I feel like you weren't having as much fun as me.
I was pretty bored.
So, yeah, I mean, there are points where you will be bored in this movie, don't get me wrong.
Basically, anytime the dinosaurs aren't on screen, which is a good 50% of this movie, if not more.
Look, I mean, if there's one thing that I can't defend this movie on, it's the pacing, because the pacing in this movie is fucked. We take a big time out in the second act after our big volcano adventure. And it sucks because the volcano thing, like, as dumb as it sounds, that's a really fun part of the movie.
It is.
It's like this.
But the problem with that is we've already seen that whole part.
Yeah, I mean, well, we haven't seen the whole thing, like, because we see most of it in the trailer, but there's certain elements of, like, there's, you know, the stampede mixed with a natural disaster. We haven't seen that with one of the Jurassic Parks movies yet. It's kind of like if you mix some of the parts of 2012, but they had dinosaurs in them. That's fun. There's the whole bubble thing. There's like a big fight in between for like no reason, and like big dino fight, you know. And then there's even a whole water segment that's pretty tense and kind of like it's like a big roller coaster ride. And at that point in the movie, I'm like, oh yeah, we have a movie. Here we go. And because before then, it took a little while to set up, and we're getting a little bit more with the characters that aren't the dinosaurs, and it's like, well, I mean, I'm here to see dinosaurs, so maybe we could get to that. That'd be great. And yeah, like after that segment, I was kind of like, yeah, all right, I'm down with this. And then
so. Here's my comparison for these movies.
Mm-hmm.
These movies are very quickly becoming Transformers for me.
Wow, that's some slang over there. Okay,
Hear me out.
Okay, give me a reasoning here.
For one thing, this movie thinks that I care about the human characters a lot more than I do. Owen could die, I'd be like, well, Chris Pratt, go find another movie to do.
Well, I mean, I guess the dinosaurs don't talk. Not yet.
Blue is Bumblebee.
I mean, not yet.
No, look at it. Blue is Bumblebee.
In the fact that they're the character I like the most.
They're the character the movie focused on the most, and they actually actively ignore other dinosaurs to focus on Blue.
So, I mean, I get your comparison. There's
just less explosions.
And it's not like... So, oh boy, it's hard to put where this movie, because I recognize that Jurassic World it's structurally definitely a better movie than the first one. And I'm one of those people that I'm like, yeah, I know it's dumb, but I kind of
I totally agree. Jurassic World's a dumb movie, but it's fun.
It's really fun, and I like it. I like it. Okay, I have a fun time watching it. It's like, of course, none of them ever touched the first Jurassic Park, and
none of them ever could.
Well, I mean, the more I think about it, Jurassic Park, the first movie, is really a miracle movie.
No, it is. It's one of the first times they were like, hey, let's try mixing practical effects with some CG.
The CG still holds up.
It
overall.
does.
Like, you still watch that movie and you go, damn, like, that's some good shit
The first time you see that T-Rex, it's like, hot damn, that is amazing.
Well, I mean, and then it pulls the trick, and it's the only one of these movies that has ever done this, in which for a couple of minutes it really does wrap you up in the awe and majesty of bringing dinosaurs back to life, to where you forget that's
a terrible idea.
that it's horrible. Like that idea is unbelievably dumb on its face.
And
but due to the soundtrack of that film, the way it's shot, that majestic opening sequence, everyone forgot about that. Everyone forgot about that. Even then, but you know, then later in the film, you're like, oh yeah, fuck, that's right. They're monsters. We made monsters.
We basically made land sharks.
Yes, we made land sharks. There's just no there's no logic to it. Like and it's the only and ever since that next moment in this, we've never captured that back again.
No, you can't. You can't put it back in the box.
Like it really is only the trick. It's like Daffy Duck's like big, one of his like trick. Like, well, it's impressive, but I can only do it once. And also, Steven Spielberg is on his A game here, making a B sci-fi movie from a just A-list director. And also, it's probably one of those movies that it's interesting because the original Jurassic Park is a horror movie for kids.
Yeah, basically.
And that is a delicate dance.
Fine line.
That's a delicate dance to pull off because it's fun, but it's kind of scary. But yet,
you have to make it more tense than scary.
But it's it's scary, but you could take your kids to it,
yeah.
And they'd close their eyes over some parts, but more or less, none of the characters we really like die. Like none of them are in that much jeopardy, but we still do get a kick out of I hope they make it out of this scene, and yeah, it's just through the majesty of pure filmmaking that movie gets pulled off, and. The director of this one is J.A. Bayona, who did the wonderful A Monster Calls.
See, that's a great movie.
So I had high hopes for this one, and there's a little bit of that in here where you can feel some genuine emotion from the dinosaurs' perspective. They almost had me again at this point. There's a couple moments in here where the characters are interacting with the dinosaurs, and they show backstory between Chris Pratt and Blue, and there's a whole thing of when they're first learning about each other, and we see the bond being formed. I'm like, you know what? This is working until we get to a point where they try and they overstep, they oversell it.
Oh, God.
And I'm like, motherfuckers, you can't take it that
too
far. Oh boy. So, oh man, it's interesting because the premise of this movie is good. In fact, it's great because. What would you do with a Jurassic Park movie after so many Jurassic Park movies? Well, you make it to where they're the good guys. The dinosaurs are the good guys. And the evil corporation that are trying to grab them up and sell them off and then use their genetics as weapons, they're the bad guys. We re-release them all, and then we watch dinosaurs fuck up the evil organization. We root for them, we cheer, and then they escape their confinement. Great setup for a movie. They really only throw that in the third act.
Barely.
And it's not as big of a, dino brawl as you might think.
No.
They release 2 dinosaurs and that's about it. It's interesting because they also bring up the first 2 acts of this movie are pretty much what you've seen from the trailer and some of the concepts of rescuing animals. They try and put an analog. There was even a Chiron against Trump in there, U.S. president asks, are dinosaurs even real? Which was, it's funny, but yet not, because it reminds us that our president is such a consistent liar. It's kind of that's funny, I guess. And we won't get political on a fucking dinosaur review, but so.
See, my main problem with this film is that, especially in the beginning, this movie really banks on the fact that we care if the dinosaurs live. And we're like, no, they should probably die.
Yeah, me and Travis have been on the, whoa, man, we should definitely have let these dinosaurs die a long time ago.
Because they are murder machines.
It was one thing when Jurassic World introduced the concept of, what if the park worked?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's interesting, until it doesn't again, because it inevitably can't work the whole time. So, at this point, the park is a dead idea. We can't make it work. We've tried it twice. It's fucked. So, when our hero is trying to save the dinosaurs, and it's imagine, we have to save, they're an endangered species. I'm like, no.
Nope.
They are a clone hybrid species. They even mentioned that
They established that in the series already.
They established that they're spliced with the DNA of frogs, so they're not even pure dinosaurs. We've made sideshow attractions. So it's like
somewhere out there, like the Ringling Brothers are having a boner. They're like, "Oh my god, you guys are brilliant."
Yeah, it's so fucked that we've made monsters for our amusement, and they never recognize that fact that what they did in the park was super fucked up, and that they should have never done it to begin with.
Which is basically Jeff Goldblum's only plot in this movie, to basically say that.
His whole role, if you were...
He's only a cameo.
Guys, he's only in it for 30 seconds, and he's in there to just shake his finger at you, going hey, you shouldn't be doing any of this. No dinosaurs. Let that volcano fuck him up. And, as far as new characters getting introduced, we have some new villains that, pretty generic villain stuff. There's an ivory kind of hunter. He's only around so that we can see him get it later.
In a really stupid way.
Toby Jones shows up, and he might as well be having a sign I'm Toby Jones in this film, so that means I'm definitely a villain. Well, so why even try and attempt to hide it?
I mean, have you seen that guy?
And then, of course, there's a paleo
I
veterinarian played by...
guess that's apparently a real thing.
Played by, I had her IMDb up here.
Daniela Pineda?
Mm-hmm. And we have the tech guy who is Justice Smith, played by, what was it?
No, his name's Justice Smith. He's playing Franklin Webb.
Okay. And, yeah, so those two are useless.
Yeah.
They don't serve almost any function in this movie other than to provide plot points or something. She's a veterinarian, so you can almost act one of the dinosaurs is going to get hurt later, and that's where she comes in. And then you go well, couldn't have the dinosaur just not gotten hurt, and then we can excise her character? Yep.
Same thing with Justice Smith's character, because he's I'm a systems analyst. I'm
yeah,
great. Why are you on this island? Oh, I need to be able to hack the system.
The system that shouldn't need to be hacked. We have the chick that ran it.
Yeah,
that doesn't make any. I'm not going to get bogged down in that detail.
Well, also, he disappears from the movie for a large portion. Right? When he shows back up, I was like,
"Fuck, that's right.
You're in this movie."
I'm so glad you said that. I had that exact same thought. Because he shows up in a completely different outfit, in a completely different scenario than when we left him.
Yeah, I was like, there's a side story here, but
he had a whole other story go on off screen that we did not see.
And I really don't care about.
And that's what's really funny about it is he's a Scourge from Thor Ragnarok where he's just no one knows this is him.
Also, we have Benjamin Lockwood or whatever his name is, the old guy who
oh yeah, wow, what a dumbass! And then they try and sell us on this connection between him and Hammond, and it's you can tell we were connected. Look at us, we got the same cane. I mean, we're practically brothers. And I'm oh Jesus, movie, you're
reaching here.
So. There's some stuff that you have to buy in the first and second act, but overall, especially with the fun, volcanic sequence, I'm yeah, there's a lot I have to swallow here in order for the fucking plot to move along, to save the dinosaurs in the first place. I mean, Chris Pratt makes sense. He has an emotional connection with Blue, and that makes more sense.
He's the only one that actually does make sense. I want to go back for basically that puppy I raised my whole life.
Plus, Chris Pratt, he has proven to me that he is a legit movie star. He has charisma. Mm-hmm. He sells any scene that he's in. Every scene that he's in, he's actually improving it, even if it's not a particularly interesting scene or dialogue.
Really, him and Bryce Dallas Howard have no chemistry.
I don't know why, they even split up or were not, they split up, but then they don't even act like it by the end of the movie again. So I'm hoping that they just keep breaking up and getting back together at the end of the movies, and that they're this constantly just toxic relationship. It's just that's kind of funny to me. And Chris Pratt, he's selling this emotional connection with what has to be what a person holding a tennis ball in actual real life. You know what I mean? He's selling this connection with a digital effect So he's he's really carrying the human element of this film on his back alone, because the new people, they're there to do their function as a stereotype and then basically scream in the tech guy's case.
Yep.
Because they don't get like an arc, or like the tech guy doesn't learn to be brave, because we even set up that he's a chicken shit, right?
Yeah.
So like the natural thing is like, oh, he's gonna like learn to do something like super, like, you know,
He's gonna have to go up against the T-Rex, because that was his biggest fear the whole entire time, was the
like,
T-Rex.
Yes, and they keep mentioning stuff like that. So like, it's like constant like set up the dominoes, knock them down storytelling. Like it's simple and like we could all see it coming.
It's 101.
But it's like, but that's effective. You know, there's nothing wrong with
No.
it. But that just doesn't happen. Like they don't have it then. You know, the vet story is the only story she has. Like, she's never seen a dinosaur in real life. So her character arc comes to full fruition by the time the first act is over, and we've gone into the volcano chase. So the first, and I keep trying to get distracted from my point. So the first and second act of this movie are like more or less you can follow it, and you go like, okay, we're building up to something. What are we building to here? They throw so much shit at the wall in the third act. Like it takes a while to get there, and then when it finally does, they just don't know what to do. They throw like everything. Like it's almost like they forgot that they had plot elements until the third. Like, oh shit, that's right. We were supposed to introduce this earlier, but fuck that. Here's this gene splicing, weaponizing dinosaurs. B.D. Wong's here. He's gonna describe this whole maternal instinct behavioral therapy thing that out of nowhere, and then it's like, what? And then not only that, they introduce even more fucking sci-fi science in here that I won't go into until we go into the spoiler section.
Not that the one thing's even a spoiler, because it doesn't matter to the movie
but
at all.
it comes out of nowhere. And it's weird is that I could still see it coming, because it's like, wait a second.
There's no reason for a certain character to exist in this movie.
Well, I mean, there's the whole, you've seen the girl in the trailer, this young girl in this mansion, and you might think to yourself, why the fuck is that scene in this trailer? Like, where does that scene come in? And you'll be very surprised where that leads. To a point where there's even a scene, you know that scene in the trailer where the tooth fairy dinosaur basically of like...
the Sandman.
Yeah. That somehow makes less sense in the movie.
It's actually
as it
way
happens.
dumber.
It's like, huh? Like, they had to crowbar that shit in.
That would have been one of the scenes where I would have preferred if it had only been in the trailer and they had actually taken it out of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's a trailer shot, right? Yeah. Like it's like someone mocked that up for a trailer, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. But then somehow they were like, no, that was so good, we should work that into the movie, even though there's no rhyme or reason. There's so many things wrong with that happening. And like there's so much dumb stuff in the third act that is just the logic leaps that keep because the plot needs to keep happening, certain things just have to like randomly happen. And I can't wait to get to the spoiler section, because this third act is like just coincidence after dumb action after, and then at the end of it, like to top it all off, like the way this movie ends is simultaneously the best thing about it and like the dumbest thing about it. Because what I like about this movie overall, and why I indeed had fun with at least certain elements of it, is that it blows up the concept of the park itself to where then the next films have to do different stuff now. We can't go back to the park. We can't do the animal safari thing again. We have to do new, weird, like sci-fi stuff. And they introduce like new weird elements too, which are fun. But I wish they would have introduced them earlier so that we could deal with them a little bit more.
We'd almost have to spend more time on the park then.
Yeah, I mean, or like maybe introduce the thing earlier, or I don't know, maybe not spend as much time transitioning from the island to the mansion later. Like there's just something fundamentally wrong about the structure of this film, where I'm waiting for stuff to happen, and then suddenly way too much stuff is happening. Like and yeah, I mean, you said to me that as we were coming out of it that you're like, I think I'm done. And on one level, I get it, because this is like the dumbest, like,
I think Jurassic Park 2 is probably still worse.
I'd have to watch it again.
But
I mean, I don't remember a lot about it, but it has some problems that are similar to Jurassic Park 2. In fact, it has some worse problems in it, in that its tone is weird. Like, it wants to be really kind of funny and juvenile kind of feel. It's like there's one point where a dinosaur runs into a wall and bumps its head, and it basically goes, like, it has a cartoon reaction to what's happening. And then later, that same dinosaur goes on the most Tom and Jerry cartoon rampage. And don't get me wrong, it's super funny.
But it's so weird, because there's like people like flying in the air doing a Wilhelm scream to this like 5 foot tall fucking dinosaur. No, it's not even 5 feet tall, it's like 3 feet tall. It's like this tiny little thing.
So that's really funny.
But then really
also
out of place.
But also out of place with some like the heavier stuff that they're trying to pull off.
Like, it comes off of like this big like corporate like espionage like fucking deal going on, where it's like people bidding for live animals, and it's like, wow, this is a really awful scene.
Yeah, and it's like, the darkness of humanity, whackity schmackity doo. Like, there's something you can't. The transition between the two is very weird, and to be fair, that's what some of the other Jurassic Park movies have had that as well.
Yeah,
because it's hard, because you don't want to make them too scary, because they still are seen as kind of for kids. Yeah, and I don't know, like. I'm struggling, because I respect a lot of the things that this movie does. I just wish that they'd done them a little differently.
To be honest, the only thing that actually impressed me by this movie is some of the actual filming was pretty good in this film.
I maintain that volcano sequence is fun as shit.
Yeah, the writing is really bad in this
wow,
movie.
the writing's super bad. Like, even the dialogue in between characters of, like, I mean, Bryce Dallas Howard goes to like a congressman at some point, like, imagine, you have kids, right? Well, imagine that, you know, our this generation has grown up with dinosaurs existing. Imagine, like, the next generation. What would they do if they had to grow up in a world without dinosaurs? And I'm like, I don't know, lived like the rest of us,
right,
who have not done that. Like,
well, here's was even dumber, because it was like, well, imagine, like, what would it be like for your child to have to watch these animals go extinct? I'm like,
I don't know.
Fucking if I care. They're
off on an island. Like, they don't have to watch shit. Like, and plus, like, they were only ever available to the super rich anyway.
If it's a congresswoman, she probably afford it.
Yeah, so like fuck them. Like, I don't understand.
Again, this movie really banks off of the fact that you think these dinosaurs should live, and I really don't.
Yeah, they assume a little too much from that. I think it's hard, because I feel like that they're aiming for more of a child or younger audience with that sort of mentality that dinosaurs are cool and we should save them. But yet later, it deals with some heavy and kind of complex shit, like in the third act, of like gene splicing and the morality of weaponizing animals, and like and the power of genetic manipulation. And it's kind of like, that's it. I just don't know what type of film they were trying to make. And there's one, like, we were arguing about at one point earlier that I think was, in my opinion, was actually one of the better parts of the film, was that our villain shows up to actually have a conversation with them, and they yell at him for exploiting these animals, and he fires right back like, whoa. Okay, yeah, I'm exploiting these animals, but you were too. Like, I'm not the only guilty party here. And I think we had a little bit of disagreement on that. You said, like, well, like, what he's doing is way worse. And I'm like,
it was more how he said it that I didn't like, because he was like, oh, well, you're exploiting these animals. I'm like, yeah, but saying, like, he's going to, like, sell them in cages, like, doing it that way, that's like saying, like, oh, I'm an ivory hunter. Obviously, I'm, like, you being a zookeeper are just as bad as I am. Like,
sure.
No, there's different levels here of terrible people.
Oh, I took more of like, whoa, get off your high horse for a second.
No, they're obviously, anyone who creates dinosaurs, awful person.
Yeah, because like Bryce Dallas Howard was like, hey, whoa, wait a second, honey, you created like these genetic monsters, and so that people could gawk at them in cages, and that you could train one to eat a great white shark every day via free, like a killer whale at SeaWorld. Like you are not, your hands aren't bloodless in this.
Also, I only can imagine that in this universe, great white sharks must be close to being endangered depending on how much they have to feed
I'm
that
assuming
thing.
that they also genetically clone great white sharks to feed them. They would almost have to, because you have to figure that's a daily thing for him. Also, how is that motherfucker still alive?
Also, I'm just now imagining like farm-raised white sharks. It's just kind of fucking weird.
The side project is the Deep Blue Sea project
God,
for the Jurassic Park people. You know they're in the same universe.
They have to be.
They're the same fucking people. Like, it's just, oh my goodness. So, yeah, I mean, it's by no means, like, it's still fun for me, because I get a kick out of, like, it's the same reason I love this, and like I love movies like Rampage and Kong Skull Island.
Terrible movies.
I mean Rampage and Kong Skull Island are way better than this. Don't get me wrong.
No, I like Kong Skull Island.
Because I like the fact that we're kind of in the mindset now of making 80s sci-fi B movies, but with millions of dollars of budget. I'm really behind that. I like that a lot. I'm very much down with this type of movie. I'm just very disappointed that this one turned out the way it did.
Yeah.
Because it has a lot of potential to go, I really wish that it just went to the Fast and the Furious route, and that every sequel got even dumber. Because what's bad about this, what's weird about this film is that it's actually not, crazy enough. Like, it doesn't fully commit to being utterly ridiculous.
I mean, they apparently built an amusement park on a volcano. That's pretty ridiculous, don't you think?
Yeah, and I'm like, man, that's a weird retcon, because like, it was dormant before, like, but still.
No, people build parks around volcanoes saying like, come look at this volcano. Not like, this is going to be a side attraction of our amusement park, is going to be this volcano. Like, no, that's really dumb.
I don't know, some executive must have made the decision on that one. But yeah, I mean, we can go into a spoiler section, I guess, after we give our ratings here. Overall, man, I feel weird about this one, because I respect so many of the decisions again. Like, what's sad is that there's good ideas in here, and that they're just not fully utilized or realized. And the characters are so thin that, like, we really can't connect with almost any of them. And then that ending of like where we end up by the end of this is like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Mm-hmm. And there's just a little too many of those you gotta be fucking kidding me moments of, and I can swallow so many things that are coincidence and, happenstance in order to move the plot forward, but there's like ridiculous like Rube Goldberg device going on of like to make the third act happen to where it can't help but feel forced in that way. So I mean, I feel like I'm being generous in it.
You definitely will be.
I'm going to give it two genetically dumbly named Endoraptors out of 5.
I couldn't remember its name, so I just started calling it the Dio-Raptor in my head.
Dio-Raptor.
I thought that was way more fun.
That's funny. That's fun. Like, that sounds a little cuter. Like, oh, Dio! Like, that'd be its shorthand name. I feel like, yeah, you wouldn't want to, it'd be a little more intimidating than that. Although, I guess the shorthand would be Endo? I don't know. What do you think, my friend?
I didn't like this movie. For one thing, like, we'll get into this a little bit more into the spoiler section, but this movie is nothing but a sequel bag. And it's sequel bagging to be Jurassic Park 2, the worst Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's
nothing good about that concept, okay?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, except for the fact there's nowhere else to go with the Jurassic Park movies.
And
I have a good pitch for it, but we'll save it for the spoiler section.
Maybe this series just needs to die. I know everyone was so excited when Jurassic World came out. It's like, yeah, this is a movie we could totally redo. And we're good. We got it. I mean, I'm done.
I don't know if I'm there yet, because I realize that the Jurassic Park movies are the same as the Pirates movies. Is that we're not going to get any other Pirates movies that aren't Pirates of the Caribbean. There will be no other Pirates movies.
There never has been for Jurassic Park.
I mean, after the Pirates movies end, or whatever they're going to do, it'll be like 10 to 15 years before we get another pirate movie that tries to reboot it. And that sucks, because I feel like a genre shouldn't just die like that on the wind. And I realize that I'm treating these movies, this franchise, like an endangered species itself. And I don't want dinosaur movies to go away. And I know that if Jurassic Park goes away, it'll be a long time before we see dinosaurs again. And that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
So I'm rooting for these movies to get better, because they really do need to get better than this.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
and this is definitely where my comparison to Transformers comes in, because I watched 2 Transformers movies, and that was it. I couldn't stand watching another one.
But there's so many giant robots movies. I don't understand why they're like, that one gets to have we get to have so many giant. Yeah, maybe it's just CG and it's cheap. Whatever. I don't get it. But continue your point.
It's just, there's nothing in this movie that really makes me want another one. Like, there's no real good plot points. Everything that comes into the third act is just dumb. Like, it's so dumb.
And I realize that that's such a weak sauce way to describe a film, and that we're like, that sounds like when you say something like, well, why didn't you like the film? It was, I don't know, it was dumb. It sounds like you can't, you're
I'm waiting for the spoiler section for that.
Right.
Don't worry, I'll extrapolate.
It's a combination between, that we can't spoil anything, and plus, there is really no other word for it. It really is kind of just stupid. It's just, it wants you to buy in on something that you just go like, guys, I don't have that much money to buy in on that. Like, they're just, my pocket, you turned out my pockets. I'm already invited to it.
I'm already running on empty here. Yeah. So, I'm gonna have to give this one 3 raptor tears out of 10.
Oh boy, so soft, raptor tears. You will believe a raptor can cry after this movie. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We're going to cut into a spoiler section right after this, but if you want to go and check out Jurassic World, be my guest. It is, I would say go see it, but like maybe actually don't, but maybe enough of you go see it so that they do make a sequel, but then they learn their lesson. Like, what's a good amount of money? Like, whatever the amount of money is to where they are going to make a second one, but they have to change stuff. They know they have to change stuff. Whatever that amount is, then do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. If you want to just check out some of our previous, podcasts or whatnot, you can go, back to our iTunes log, subscribe to us on iTunes, maybe give us a 5-star review while you're there. Helps us out with visibility so that we don't also go extinct or be, tranked and then put in sideshow attractions and genetically spliced. iTunes is weird, guys. Like, it's a weird dichotomy. Like, we need those subscriptions and 5-star reviews. Otherwise, that shit happens. Or you can, like us on Facebook, go to our Instagram, same thing. Or if you want to support us with them dollars, with them monies, you can go to our Patreon page at unapologetic.com. And, without further ado, we're going to take a small musical break, and we'll be back with the spoiler section right after this. To the spoiler section for Jurassic World.
Oh boy.
Oh goodness. So Blue cries in this. So I'm not Look, I'm not a scientist. I don't know if dinosaurs could cry or if they had tear ducts. Do lizards have tear ducts? Does that matter?
Probably not.
I don't know. All I know is that when it happens in the movie, it's so dumb.
Well, they also basically spin it off as she has empathy, therefore she can cry.
Oh, fuck. So What's fucked up about that scene is that it was totally working.
Yeah, they were pulling the emotional strings.
They were despite themselves, they were pulling victory from the jaws of defeat for me by getting me to sympathize with Blue and Chris Pratt. And it was intercut between Chris Pratt caring for Blue while she was hurt, our little girl character who is really, really good at subverting security for whatever reason.
I mean, that place just didn't have any security, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I would guess so too. Maybe they just didn't think there's almost no one on the premises.
I mean, there's a little girl and a dying old man.
Yeah,
who apparently never knows the fact that there is gotta be caravans of like supplies coming in at random
I know
intervals.
you're bedridden, but you have ears, motherfucker.
Like they have this like, oh well, the lab that was built beneath this, we just started back up. It was all good to go.
Hey, there's I hear a lot of fucking construction downstairs and outside. Is that anything I have to worry about? Nah, we're just fixing the garden or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. We're just fixing the plumbing. Like so, and yeah, the dinosaur carrying is intercut with the little girl watching old videos of Chris Pratt with the baby dinosaurs. And
that works well because they're basically like home videos of training your puppy.
And that shit, like that was when I'm talking about moments of brilliance. That's kind of what I'm talking about.
It actually does work.
Like that's a fucking good idea. That's someone who cared about this movie, who had a good idea for this movie that was drowned out by executive decisions, I think. Because like that whole idea of showing the difference between Blue and the other raptors, of like him showing weakness and then Blue nuzzling up to him and it's like, oh shit, like she's showing empathy. So we can't help but root for Blue at that point. We humanized her to a point where she is one of the main characters. And so I was like, man, I'm really digging this. And then she fucking cries that
single tear.
That sexy tear, and I'm like, mother. And I giggled in the theater. I'm like, you got it. God damn it. Like it was like, I'm like, yeah, guys, it
ruined the whole scene.
I gave you an inch and you took a mile, and you didn't have like that. There was a certain line you had to toe and you fucked it up. So yeah, that was just, it's too much. Speaking of too much, we have that, what's the bone-headed dinosaur?
Ankylosaur? Oh no, the tiny little one? I forget.
I forget what it is, but like it helps them escape, which is like...
Or call it Craniosaur, because I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh yeah, it'll help them break through the wall and the gate, because they didn't design those to hold those dinosaurs. Wait.
No.
What?
This laboratory apparently has less security than the actual park itself.
So... they have a cage that can hold a motherfucking T-Rex.
Yep.
But this little thing that can butt its head really hard not only breaks through a fucking brick wall, but also the gate holding it in. So it could have escaped at any point, is what I'm getting from that.
And apparently it was also trained?
Well, I'm guessing that Chris Pratt was just pissing it off or something. It's like, whoa, I hate whistling. I sure hate whistling. I also hate rooms gathered with dumb auctioneers. I hope I never run into, oh, motherfucker. And so I love the fact that Chris Pratt has the brainwave of sending it up the elevator.
Yeah.
That's fun. Like, that's a funny idea. But also, it leads to the most ridiculous sequence of just him bowling through patrons, which is like, it's funny, but also a different movie that's happening, because the most dangerous animal in the movie is actually in that scene off to the side.
Yes.
I also did like when Chris Pratt is like running through and trying to like stop its cage or whatever, that the Endoraptor is like watching it the whole fucking time, like, oh, motherfucker, I want to eat you. I want to eat you so fucking bad.
And apparently I think it's called a Pachycephalosaurus.
Oh, okay. And I love the Endoraptor and how it is like it's like it I feel like the Endoraptor's confused as why it can't eat Chris Pratt.
Yeah. Like,
or Bryce or any of the main characters. It's like, why the fuck is this so hard?
It was like, we bred this thing to be the ultimate killing machine, and it kills 2 people in the movie?
Well, it kills, we don't know how many of the soldiers it kills. Like, cause they keep finding like dead ones and then like guns everywhere.
No, they find a dead one, and then the next scene it's gone.
Yeah.
The Endoraptor apparently ate the whole thing in that one shot. You notice that?
I mean, yeah, like the body was definitely gone, and it's like, wait a minute, did he eat like all of him. Like, there's only a certain amount that size of animal could eat. Also, if you're making an animal that is to be a super weapon, it's like, oh, it can work in many types of environments. And I'm like, except for tight corridors or doors.
Yeah.
Because it's just too big to go through doors.
Or falling trees, because they got into that scene where, like, the museum scene where, like, oh, the tree collapsed and it couldn't get to Bryce Dallas Howard. I'm like, why not? It has like finger claws like the raptors. I can just pick it up.
It's weird because I see the look on its face, like even it's confused.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Why can't I get these guys? Like, and it's so weird, like, the near misses that it has. And then, of course, how it gets released is so weird.
It's so dumb.
Our ivory hunter opens the cage after it's tranked. So one, we have to figure that the hide must be thick enough that the darts didn't penetrate it.
Which, fine.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll buy that. It's a slightly bigger than a raptor. It's bigger than Blue. It probably has a thicker hide.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even if the what do you call the serum got in there, it's probably bigger. It probably processed that a little faster. I'll buy that. And then
it knows how to play dead.
So this is the point where you have to accept how smart sometimes these animals are, and it's so.
And that I still accepted that. I was like, fine, it's meant to be a killing predator, whatever.
But we're also meant to accept that it takes enjoyment out of killing.
Yes, that's like,
because while the guy opens the cage in order to take one of its teeth, which I guess the Indoraptor must have intuited that it would open the gate if it played dead, whatever. Even though he could have easily reached through the bars or something. We see a scene where his eyes open and we see like, aha, okay, I just had to pretend for a little longer, and the motherfucker smiles. I shit you not, people. Mm-hmm. This dinosaur looks at the screen. He all but winks at the audience like, oh, I got this.
You know what's happening.
You know what's about to happen, right, guys? It's like he pulls a Bugs Bunny on us like, no, I'm not really dead. I'm just fucking with Elmer Fudd over here. I got this. and I'm just like, what? Like, again, it's that tone thing I was talking about of like, how serious am I supposed to take this dinosaur as a threat?
Well, we also have to assume this general guy is actually way dumber than the dinosaur, because he sees he sees hundreds of people running out of this room being chased, and then walks into it like, I want my bonus! Dude,
hey, I want my bonus!
Read the fucking room! And
hey, what's this thing?
All he sees is a lone dinosaur, and that's it. And he decides, oh, I'm gonna take one of its teeth. I'm like, but why?
Oh, because I'm an ivory hunter and I'm a villain.
Except I didn't even get that established in the movie. Like, that was.
Well, I mean, the earlier part he's taken teeth, and I did assume it like first as well as you that there were trackers in the teeth.
Yeah,
but that's not the deal. It was like he had a line after that was like, no, he's collecting them for like a necklace because he's an asshole. And so like not only does that happen, but he leaves the cage open. And then in order for it to get out, Toby Jones has to shove a woman in front of the elevator, and so that it escapes like, oh, I should get out of this cage now and run at the elevator. The elevator closes in time, only for its tail to accidentally hit the control panel for
hard
it to
enough to short circuit
it so that the doors open again. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, yeah. What's weird about that is that it's only there for the want. You thought we got away or whatever, and It's like, yeah, but couldn't he have just gotten there before the doors closed? If I'm like writing this movie,
right? Like that's just unnecessary.
There's so many. It's like a Three Stooges skit. Mm-hmm. It really is. This third act, guys. I cannot overstate this enough. It is fucking ridiculous.
And we haven't even really talked about the child character yet.
So, we gotta get into that. So, I kind of figured this out early, which was shocking to me, because it makes, like...
It's not important at all.
It's so random in the movie, but yet, I was thinking to myself, this character hasn't really factored in the plot at all. And then, it's like, oh, your mother visited the park once as well. And I'm like, well, I only know one other female character that's ever visited the park, because... because the Jurassic Park wasn't all up on the female characters quite a bit. And I know you're not Ellie's daughter. I know that for sure. Ellie is established as having a son, having a whole other family, not being related to Hammond at all. So I know you're not that. So what are you? And then I remember that the dinosaurs are clones. And I was like, I bet you she's a clone. I know it doesn't really make any sense.
And it's not important.
But I bet you that's what they're going to do. And yep. So that happens later to where he made a clone of his daughter that died in a car crash, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was what led them to
be separated.
For Hammond and him to split. And oh man, I love this too, because he figures out what's happening. He's like, How dare you in my house? I'll tell you what, you go to that phone, sir, and you call the police. And I was just like, wow. So this character hasn't thought this through at all.
It's like, so you spent my fortunes, made a whole entire, diabolical lab in my basement, and I'm gonna make you call the police. Like, bitch, please.
Like, it's almost to the point where, like, no, like, why would he do that? Like, it would be ridiculous for him to do that.
And my first inclination is that, oh, well, like, obviously, like, you can't just murder someone and get away with it. Like, someone's gonna come looking until, like, at very least, I was like, well, eventually this girl's gonna have to go to school. I'm like, no, she won't. She's a fucking clone. There should be no proof she exists.
Yeah, so there's a lot to they throw a lot for you to process in this third act here, to where, like, there's the whole, like, the nanny even is like, I cared for them both.
Yeah.
And it's like, why, okay, one, why was this in this movie at all if it doesn't really factor anything until way later? Like, there's one scene in here that we'll get to where it might factor in. But like, I'm like, well, if you're going to introduce this, why not introduce this in the second act where I was kind of bored?
Yeah.
Remember that second act where we're sitting on the boat waiting for all the dinosaurs to get there?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why not there? Where I could have been like, oh shit, human cloning. Well, that's something we haven't seen in
that's new.
That's something we haven't seen in the Jurassic Park movies before. It's weird to throw it into the last third act action sequence to, like, oh, also this thing. Like, what?
Because it's not important. It doesn't factor into basically anything.
Only one line of dialogue does it ever play off of later, and wow, will we get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Endoraptor is after them. They keep having this cat and mouse chase with it. The BD Wong wants the raptor blood sample, so our two side characters release Blue, who is very discriminatory when it comes to bad guys and good guys. Like,
well, she knows empathy, Nick, so she clearly knows who's good and bad.
Yeah, so I'm like, I don't think that Blue would discriminate between you and other food. Like, I know we like Blue, but I'm pretty sure that she would eat you guys. Which was like, Chris Pratt has a moment later was like, don't worry, she won't hurt us. I'm like, she won't hurt you. I know that.
Yeah, we've established that.
I know that. I mean, us seems like an assumption that I wouldn't jump to. And so yeah, we see the Endoraptor being kind of an impractical monster at certain points. And we get to this scene where, in the trailer, where the Tooth Fairy monster comes about, and it just happens. I wish I could give you a description that would make sense, because...
See, how the events led up is that, the three characters, Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and, Maisie was her name? I forget. The little girl are all running away in, like, the museum, very, very similar to the ending scene of Jurassic Park 1. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, well, we're gonna run away from this Endoraptor, but we turn off the lights so it can't see us because it has zero night vision, apparently. I would figure, like, wait, wouldn't that be into the Indoraptor's advantage? Like, doesn't it have better vision than you? I would assume so, but the movie played it off as it did not.
Okay, cool.
Because
I'm just gonna go with it.
The perfect predator has zero night vision.
I'm just gonna roll with it. Like, I'm not gonna question it at this point.
But
also, oh man, we didn't even talk about this, because they do that reboot of the system. Did you notice how often they kept referring back to the first movie? Mm-hmm. Like, all those little cute little cutaways or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, some of them were a little more tolerable than others. Like, I kind of like the rear view mirror one.
Yeah.
Like, that one was okay, but then they try and replay the Brontosaurus moment, or the Brachiosaurus moment, whatever the hell it is. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why do you keep reminding me of a better movie?
Right.
Don't do that.
That's a bad idea. Yeah, so our side characters, the two that we basically forgot about this whole entire movie, turn back the lights, which then, of course, endangers our other characters. Mm-hmm. The Indominus, or Deoraptor, whatever it's fucking called, attacks them, and the little girl runs away to her room.
Yes. So...
And hides in her covers.
Under the covers. So...
No, not under her covers, in the covers.
We've already seen this girl hide pretty effectively this entire time in like cubby holes and little like laundry chutes and under tables. So it's weird for her to take this action here in that it's like something a 3-year-old would do. Like if a 3-year-old did it, you'd go like, well, they're going where they feel safe, I guess. But this is I want to say a 12-year-old girl?
Something like that.
Something like that, maybe 10. I don't know. But old enough to where and we've already seen her be pretty competent in order, like, we've seen her, like spy style, look at, like, and figure out passcodes that people are punching in. And
as long as she doesn't understand how dangerous this thing is.
And also the Endoraptor, who has been treated as a fucking wrecking ball in this movie. It's not subtle at all.
No, it can just destroy whole buildings. Now
takes its sweet-ass time to open up the window cleverly and stalk its prey. And I'm like... And I thought to myself, if I didn't know better, I'd say this was a hallucination sequence. Like, we're gonna wake up in a minute and realize that, I don't know... Like the little girl was actually in a virtual reality thing for the last segment of the movie, or there's some like weird hallucination thing she's having, or she's in a dream, because it feels so disconnected with what was happening
and
before.
And they could have almost done that, because they do show her earlier in the movie finding Indominus or Deoraptor, and like it scares her. I'm like, yeah, that'd been perfect time to be like, oh my god, dream sequence to happen.
Right.
But no, they put it like in the middle of an action sequence.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris Pratt comes in for the save, and he shoots the Endoraptor, and then like he shoots it like what 3 times with like this. I want to say assault rifle, maybe shotgun sort of thing. It's hard to see, but it's supposed to be. I mean, it looks military. I would assume it's a pretty powerful rifle, right?
One would assume.
One would assume. And
although most of the rifles they show in the movie had tranks in them even later in the movie,
right? So. It gets up, the Endoraptor gets up, I'm like, oh shit, this thing's pretty tough. It took like a couple bullets, like one bullet took out Blue.
Yep.
Like, and like, and it basically took it out for most of this movie. Although Blue seems pretty fine by the end of it.
Yep.
Like it didn't just go get a bullet ripped out of it, but whatever. And so the Endoraptor gets up, I'm like, oh shit, this thing must be tough. And then what do I hear? I hear a clink. Then I hear another clink. And then I hear another clink. And I realize, no way. This motherfucker's bulletproof?
To be fair, that's actually one thing that actually does make sense. Like, we made a super killing machine that's bulletproof. I'm like, well, you'd almost have to.
Yeah. Okay.
The fact that it doesn't have night vision is actually way more baffling to me.
So this thing's invincible.
Yeah.
But yet dies later via
gravity.
An impalement. From falling from, granted, a somewhat significant height.
15 feet, maybe?
But like, not such a huge amount that you go, wait a minute. So your hide is strong enough to block
like
bullets.
Like bullets bounce off your hide.
Like they morph and like you basically walk that shit off. Like I was like, oh shit, that hurt for a minute. Let me just shake that off for a minute. But a fucking skeleton impales you? I don't okay. I don't feel like that tracks to me.
Bones are very hard, Nick.
Boy. So I'm gonna go right past the sexual joke there because I'm frustrated. There's also the sexual joke there too.
You win.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna win it both today. So I like that Blue comes in too and proves that it's a much more effective monster.
They should just weaponize Blue. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Like, I like that Blue has the final fight here at the end and even gets the final kill. And like, and even has like a Chris Pratt type moment where he lands on the skull or whatever, and then the Endoraptor dies and he lands on top of it, and even Blue looks around for a minute like, yeah, I totally meant to do that. Yeah, I meant that. That was
all me.
Yeah, that was on purpose. Yeah, fuck it. Like, And it's like, and then there's like this whole like pulse action thing of controlling the dinosaur that like only factors into its destruction, but then not because it doesn't work. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, it's a false like flag thing right there. And then I'm like, okay, well, the movie's basically over now. So like that was, and at that point I'm like, well, that third act was kind of dumb, but overall, like that wasn't too ridiculous. I feel a little winded, and then suddenly it's
and then it keeps going.
Yeah, we have a problem with they have this cartoonish toxic chemical leak. Like the toxic chemical barrel had it almost had like I saw an Acme barrel next to it, like how obvious that toxic waste sign was. And then I legitimately thought they might mutate the dinosaurs for a minute.
That'd be amazing.
Like, that'd have been really cool. Like, I would have been really down with the movie if they started to merge together.
They just, like, fuse into a giant blob.
Like, it's like, no, they create hybrids or whatever. Like, it's a Tyrannosaurus ops. Like, it's like, I'm like, oh man, if we're gonna take it that far, I'm kind of down.
Well.
I'm kind of down with it. But no, we have a point where like, oh, we couldn't vent the system. All the dinosaurs are going to die. And I'm like, oh, well, that takes care of our movie then.
Done, right?
Like, yeah, that's a neat, tidy thing.
And that's where it comes back to the movie. I have to remember, oh, that's right. They want to save these murder monsters.
So our heroes are like, man, we have to save them. And for a moment, Bryce Dallas Howard has a big character, reveal. Chris Pratt has already saved Blue, so he doesn't really care about these monsters. And I stress the fact that, guys, these are not animals. They are definitely monsters. Yep. They can't help themselves but attack every human that they see.
There's literally a scene in the volcano sequence where, despite that there's a lava coming to murder them all, there's one of the carnivorous monsters stops to attack them.
Yes! I'm like, what?
That means you have zero survival instincts. You are made to murder and nothing else.
If there's one time predators and prey can work together to escape a disaster, like it's a natural disaster, and it's like, okay, time out on all that shit.
Yeah.
Well, and he has a fight with a Triceratops, and then not only that, the fucking T-Rex comes in out of nowhere for the save.
Yeah.
Just to
the T-Rex is basically saying, fuck you, we gotta go.
It's like, oh man, I am so, if the T-Rex is almost like, I am so sorry for him. That's Reggie.
Not all carnivores.
He is, hashtag, not all carnivores. That's Reggie. He's an asshole. Like, he's something wrong. There's something wrong with Reggie, okay? We've tried. Reggie is such a fucking dick. But you know what? You just guys go, get in your bubble, it's fine. And I really like the T-Rex. And so we're gonna and Bryce Dallas Howard, she can't quite do it. She can't release them, even though she has the big big door button that has
Well, even Chris Pratt's character's like, this is the part of the movie where I just kind of laugh myself. He's like, if you do this, there's no going back. And what I heard was, if you do this, there's no more sequels.
Yeah. And it's like, what he meant to say was like, think of all the people that are going to die, Bryce Dallas Howard. You can't just release a bunch of fucking giant apex predators into the fucking, cause they're in
California.
They're not on an island, guys. They're in a mansion in California. Yep. And I want to say, 2 miles from the nearest suburb?
Probably. California's pretty big.
Shit is fucked. There's
not good.
That is real bad. So they can't do it, so they're about to watch these dinosaurs suffocate to death because ultimately they know that they've done wrong and that they can't abdicate their responsibility to humanity by releasing these monsters. They realize that they've disrupted the natural order of things and that no matter what they do, what they've done, they're right back where they started, where the dinosaurs are going to die from an incident that is going to be an accident or whatever, something should be out of their control. And then I knew this was going to happen too, because I'm like, that's right. This clone girl, she has not done, even though she's given a bunch of the exposition in this movie where she's basically hit it around a bunch of the villains talking, she hasn't done anything to affect the plot.
No, she's basically unimportant at this point.
So there's only a couple minutes left in this movie, So she decides, fuck it, I'm gonna release all these dinosaurs. And her reasoning and her line is, and this is fucking great, is that I had to. They're alive like me. And I'm like, wow, that justified the clone story arc. That justified it for this fucking moment here. And you realize that's the reason that this whole moment is here, is that we can hopefully sympathize with this character that's a child and a clone, so that she feels a connection to these dinosaurs and can't see them die. And I'm like, wow, that is jump too far. Like,
and also the fact that we can murder this child and no one would know because she doesn't exist.
So, oh boy. So there, like, man, that is so ridiculous. On the other hand, I do like the idea of dinosaurs just tearing shit up in California as like this, if we're going to go full ridiculous with this. Also, I would like to pitch my idea of finally doing the weaponizing of the dinosaurs to hunt down the other dinosaurs, or giving human commandos dino DNA in order for them. You realize that was one of the plots of the movies, right? Like,
there's an ending shot where like they zoom in on the child's face, and I swear, because they zoom up right to her eyes, and I swore her eyes were going to go into slits.
Mm-hmm.
I swear that was going to happen. It did not. I was like, wow, movie, I'm actually kind of disappointed, to be honest.
I mean, at this point, I'm kind of down with dino commandos. And
like, you might as well.
Like, let's see Triceratops with Gatling guns on their heads. Like, let's fucking do it.
Let's just go full dumb.
Like, I wanna do this. Like, let's make the best Sci-Fi Channel movie, but it's in theaters, and it has hundreds of millions of dollars worth of budget. Like, let's fucking do it. I'm down for it. But you gotta take the leap, guys. Mm-hmm. Take the leap.
Well, there's also the fact that if they would have let Claire, like, release those dinosaurs, she would have been the villain. Like, straight up, if she had pressed that button, like, no, she would have been the villain of this whole series.
100%. Like, 100% she's the villain. Anyway, that's how our movie ends, and then we see, there's an end stinger of pteranodons in Las Vegas, so that's cool, because we've seen that those guys are definitely murderers.
Oh yeah, that's all they function as, is they murder people.
They even murder people that they don't eat.
No.
They pick up people and drop them just to be dicks.
Yep, they're just assholes.
They're just, like, oh, boy. So, it's like, the pill they give you to swallow in this movie is like, it's like, guys, it's too fucking big. Yeah. Like, I can't even wrap my lips around it. How am I supposed to swallow this? Oh, God, like, it's bullshit. Like, oh, and then the movie goes, oh, it's actually suppository. Oh, God. Like, there's no, oh, God. So, but we've been talking about this movie for quite a while because, you know, it was interesting to talk about. Like,
that is something you can say.
Like, I am fascinated by the ultimate failure that is this movie, I think. So, yeah, I'm kind of down with, Universal, like, let's start combining this. Like, Dino Commandos, Universal owns the Fast and the Furious franchise. Why not have the Fast and the Furious crew go after dinosaurs?
I mean, maybe, if you just drop King Kong in here.
Like, maybe King Kong, maybe some more genetically modified mutants. Let's do some crossovers here. I mean, let's just go for it. I mean, there's nothing left to do with this premise other than to go on it 11. We have to crank it up and just go for it. I really do feel like that. We're never gonna get Jurassic Park the first one again. No. We all accept that. So let's go to the other end of the spectrum and get a Deep Blue Sea out of this. Let's do this. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for listening. This was a long one. I did not least tell you guys.
Well, there was things to talk about, just nothing for the right reasons.
Boy, goodness. But yeah, thanks you guys so much for listening. And we'll catch you guys next time. Until then, we are Unapologists Geek Out, and we're out. And life finds a way.